Pain decides who lives and who collapses. On the battlefields of World War II, pain wasn't just suffering. It was a tactical problem. Soldiers bleeding out didn't need comfort. They needed to stay conscious, functional, and alive. And buried in that brutal reality was a drug so powerful it rivaled morphine, spread through field kits, shocked doctors with its strength, and later scared governments enough to lock it away. This is the story of the World War II painkiller that nearly rewrote battlefield medicine, then vanished under a ban. This is the iron will. When morphine was no longer enough. By the early years of World War II, morphine was king. Every major army carried it. Small syrettes, easy dosing, fast relief. But morphine had a problem. It slowed breathing. It dulled awareness. It knocked men out when commanders needed them alert enough to move, retreat, or survive transport. In massive casualty scenarios, morphine could turn a wounded soldier into a respiratory risk. Military doctors wanted something stronger, cleaner, and more predictable. Something that crushed pain without instantly switching off the brain. And pharmaceutical science, already running hot in the 1930s, delivered an answer that would soon alarm everyone involved. That answer came in the form of a semi-synthetic opioid known by its medical name oxycodone. During World War II, it was widely distributed in tablet and injectable form under controlled military supply. Doctors quickly noticed something unsettling. Oxycodone hit hard. In some cases, it relieved pain as effectively as morphine at lower doses. In others, it seemed even stronger. Unlike morphine, it had a smoother onset, less nausea, more mental clarity. Soldiers could speak, follow orders, stay awake. That made it extremely attractive in battlefield medicine, especially in mobile warfare, where evacuation times were long and conditions were chaotic. Field medics didn't call it revolutionary, they called it effective. And in war, effective spreads fast. World War II wasn't fought in clean hospitals. It was fought in mud, snow, desert heat, and shattered cities. Pain management wasn't about compassion. It was about logistics. A soldier who could tolerate pain could move. A soldier who could move could survive transport. A soldier who survived transport could return to the line, or at least free resources. Reports from military medical units showed that this drug allowed wounded soldiers to remain conscious without screaming, thrashing, or collapsing into shock. That mattered. It reduced manpower loss. It stabilized evacuation chains. It made battlefield triage faster and more efficient. In short, it worked too well. As World War II dragged on, military doctors began to notice a darker side. Repeated dosing created tolerance fast. Withdrawal symptoms appeared sooner than expected. Some soldiers requested the drug by name. That alone raised eyebrows in a military system obsessed with discipline. Doctors also observed something else. Emotional blunting, a subtle euphoria. Not the heavy sedation of morphine, but a quiet sense of detachment that made pain feel distant, useful in battle, dangerous afterward. The war machine ignored these signs at first. Victory mattered more than long-term consequences. But once the fighting ended, the medical community could no longer pretend this was just another tool. After World War II, civilian use of this drug expanded rapidly. Doctors prescribed it for post-surgical pain, injuries and chronic conditions. And, well, the same patterns emerged again. Dependence, escalating doses, abuse outside medical settings. Governments reacted fast. Regulations tightened, prescriptions were restricted. In many countries, the drug was effectively locked behind severe controls. What had once been a frontline miracle became, a liability. It wasn't banned because it didn't work. It was banned because it worked too well. Medical authorities feared a repeat of earlier opioid crises. The lesson of World War II was clear. A drug that could keep a wounded soldier functional under artillery fire could also quietly dismantle civilian lives. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Modern pain management, really owes a debt to this World War II experiment. The war forced medicine to confront pain not just as a symptom, but as a strategic variable. The data collected under fire ended up shaping post-war pharmacology, dosing protocols, and addiction research. This drug helped prove that synthetic opioids could actually outperform natural ones. It pushed research forward for sure, but it also exposed the fine line between relief and ruin. The iron will wasn't just in the soldiers who endured the pain. It was in the doctors who, dared to use a weapon that cut both ways. Today's debates about painkillers, addiction, and medical responsibility, they didn't start in a pharmacy. They started in World War II field tents, with blood-soaked stretchers and impossible decisions. Every modern restriction, every warning label, every controlled substance list, they all trace back to lessons learned when medicine went to war. This wasn't a villain drug. It was a mirror. It showed how far humans will go to survive and what we're willing to risk when survival is on the line. Most people remember tanks, planes and generals. Few remember the pills in a medic's pouch that kept soldiers conscious through shattered bones and torn flesh. But, those pills changed medicine forever. They proved pain could be dominated, and they proved dominance comes at a cost. That's the real legacy of this World War II painkiller. Not its ban, not its controversy, but honestly the uncomfortable knowledge that sometimes the strongest tools are the ones we're most afraid to use. If this kind of forgotten history hits different for you, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Before Modern Times for more stories that don't flinch, don't soften the edges, and don't forget what history tried to bury. Share this with someone who thinks they already know World War II. And we'll see you in the next one.